Well, it's Tuesday, and you all know what that means. As you know, NXT are continuing with the chaos. Our current champions, either the NXT champion, the NXT women's champion, the NXT women's North American champion, or our North American champion, whatever championship they're holding, they have targets on their backs, left, right, up, down. It never ends right there. But however, this has become a very interesting, of course, event. So we'll talk about this from A to Z to see what goes on from there. But first things first, we're going to be reviewing, of course, ChocoPro's much recent events. Number 522, which is Gatoh Rhapsody, which features the annual mixed tag team tournament. As you know, this is where they have the male and the female teaming up. We'll see how things will go from there. But also, Miya Yatsuba defends the Super Asia Championship against Tokiko. So we'll see how things will go from there. And of course, the next two events are back to back, of course, well, not back to back, but they're back, of course, in Ichigaya Square with some fun, wacky matches as well, which is always enjoyable. But, however, of course, as always, we'll wrap up our episode as usual with some news updates, giving you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that is happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information is unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do some real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us and click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough with the jibber jabbers. Let's get started. So, let's begin with ChocoPro number 522, Gatoh Rhapsody. Okay, ChocoPro number 522, Gatoh Rhapsody. Now, this event happened, of course, on May 5th, or as we know it, Cinco de Mayo in Japan. I wish they would have celebrated over there, but nope. But anyway, this happened in Itabashi Green Hall, which is a very small venue, but it's very reliable. And of course, this particular event is one of their bigger shows, but this one, of course, is the annual annual mixed tag team tournament, It's not a round robin tournament, in case anybody asks. This is a single elimination. 6 teams will be facing off each other. We do have a first round, semi, and final rounds in this whole thing. So basically, you can tell. Now, we did have the participants like the Best Bros, Sayako Obihiro, and Munira Fujira. Chris Brooks teams up with Kaho Hiromi, calling themselves the Kid and the Squid. Basically, I'm going to say that Kaho is the Kid, and the Squid is, of course, Chris Brooks. And then there's Soy teaming up with Ken Oka, calling themselves OK Evolution. I'm guessing reference from Evolution from the promotion where Soy is from it, and many other matches, including Kung Fu Panda. But it's a pretty good one. Now, let's start with the first round matches of this one. First, we had the Kid and the Squid, Chris Brooks and Kaho Hiromi taking on the Best Bros. Now, of course, I'm sure we have two girls who are almost the same, and that's Kaho and May. That's always been one of the things. I know that Chris Brooks has his fair deals towards May a lot. He has no problems with Balinaki. They got closer even though these past few months, and they really are good friends. But of course, it's how the cohesion. Now, Best Bros, in my opinion, have always been the better team because even though Balinaki puts up with Mei Shruga's shenanigans every now and then, they are very cohesion, exactly where they're going to go. But unfortunately, of course, Mei was able to pick up the win when she pinned Kaho, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. Now, our second match involving, of course, in the first round of this tournament, we have OK Evolution, consisting of Soy and Ken Oka. They take on Kung Fu Panda, consisting of So What, Chon Chiru and Lee Yone Omaoka. Or should I say, a Coyote Oniyama, which is her alter ego when she plays Kung Fu with Chon Chiru. So it was a pretty good match, not gonna lie. It was very fun. But however, the ending was amazing. I love seeing how both Ken Oka and Soy applied the double spear on Chon, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over completely. Now our next match, we had a very interesting the showdown of the Chis. We're talking about Chiko Shikawa and Chi Ozara. I'm going to say she's from Wave, I believe. And it was kind of confusing to have the Chis facing off. But of course, this match had to go to the home girl himself, of course, Chiko Shikawa. She was able to pick up a pinfall when she applied like a somewhat modified version of the Mahistral, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, let's jump into the semifinals of the tournament. Best Bros taking on Violence OTJ, consistent of Sayaka and Munetatsu Nakamura. So obviously, we often would think in this kind of matter that the Best Bros, they would have been already tired from their first match. You know what I mean? It was not an easy, but it seems that they were able to control the matter. But I did mention cohesion, guys. Remember, most of these teams are all makeshifts that happened like maybe weeks or probably a month or two ago. They don't have enough time to try to. They don't have the necessary time that they would need to try to build up. I mean, unlike the Best Bros, I've been a big fan of them since in 2020, and they exactly coexist very, very well. But unfortunately, of course, there was a double pin on Nakamura by the Best Bros, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our second match involving in the semifinals, we have Obihiro Sokudon Sohenten, consistent of Obi and, of course, Minoru Fujita taking on OK Evolution, Soy, and Ken Oka. But the one thing that you cannot stand is when it comes to Obi and Minoru Fujita, it's bringing the goddamn gong being involved. If you guys don't know, Fujita always brings a gong. Boom. He does that every single time whenever people are getting close. Boom. Yeah, they keep doing that every single time. But unfortunately, Minoru Fujita got away with it by pinning Soy by using the ropes. The ref did not see a dang thing on that. So you can say that's a highway robbery right there. So they will be in the finals against the Best Bros. Now our next match, this is for the Super Asia Championship. Miya Yatsuba defended against Tokiko. So this was going to be a tough challenge for Miya for many reasons. Now Tokiko, she's a fantastic striker and also knows submissions. But the real question is, can Miya survive this type of style? I mean, she was able to survive it, but it only took 2 Miya punches to take her down, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, which is the finals of the tournament, Best Bro versus Obi and Fujira. Of course, they're going to use the gong, but luckily the Best Bros were on it. You know, they try to play your usual tricks. And they tried, of course, Obi and Fujira tried everything in their possible to try to dismantle the Best Bros. But unfortunately, Obi ended up on the wrong side of the Dolphin Press, and Mei Suruga pinned her. 1, 2, 3, it was over. It was a fantastic match. I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to challenge for the Asian Dream Tag Team belts once again. Now, during the post-show that was conducted, it was announced that Mei Suruga will have a self-produced show after this called the Apple Launch, and it turns out that she is going to do the one thing that has been asked by many people, a showdown between her and Balin Aki, and it's going to happen. And of course, general manager Kizuki actually said, yep, it's going to happen. But however, they're not the only matches that they announced. Chiko Shikawa will be in fact in action to take on Mirai. Many of you know her from Tokyo Pro Wrestling, Stardom, and Mighty Gold, and now she's part of Michinoku Pro Wrestling and also a freelancer. That's one. And however, speaking of Mirai, many of you know that her tag team partner back in the day, Suzumi, is also going to participate, and she'll be facing Miya Yatsuba. So it's the international champion versus the Super Asia champion. So this, but no titles are on the line. This is going to be a very, very fun match to enjoy. So I can't wait to see it. This is going to happen on May 24th, like next week, I believe. But yes, I'm excited for that. So right now we're done with this one with number 522. Let's move on to 523. Okay, we continue with more with ChocoPro. This time we got number 523. This happened, of course, on the 10th of May in Ichigaya Square. Now, as always, we have Balin Aki opening up the show, giving the greetings and the info on the matches. Now, we did start it out with an exhibition match. We have tag team action. Our rookies, Rin and, what's her name? Waka teamed up. They take on the combine of Chiyu and Mei Suruga. Now, Mei Suruga and Chiyu are almost the same, you know, because Kaho and Chiyu teamed up before. They're almost the same. So it's like a rare kind of breed, that type of thing. But it was a pretty interesting matchup. But obviously, one of the rookies between Rin and Waka was going to lose. Unfortunately, it was Waka who ended up on the wrong side of the bow. You know, as the bow and arrow. So yes, she cranked that right in the back, and just like that, she tapped out. Now, our next match, we have Soy teaming up with Obi, of course. They take on Balin Aki and Chiko Shikawa. Now, nothing too interested about this whatsoever. I'm sure Obi is looking for a chance to get a little bit of payback for losing the finals at the Gatoh Rhapsody. But unfortunately, that didn't do any well for her because she was the one ending up taking the loss by Balin Aki himself. And just like that, uno, dos, tres, adios, it's over. Now, I don't know how many times these two have faced off each other, but they're like sisters, but one is more of a maniacal maniac. The other one, well, she is cute and cuddly and everything. I'm talking about Kaho and Mei Suruga. So, yeah. So basically, we were going to see that thing once again. Now, of course, the first time they ever ran, if you guys ever saw that, Mei Suruga thought that, oh, she was so cute because she was smaller. But don't ever underestimate Kaho, because even though she's small and cute, Do not underestimate her ability, and that's exactly what she does. But unfortunately, once again, she lost to her crazy big sister, Mei Suruga, by a pinfall, and just like that, it was over. Now, our main event, we have Monetatsu Nakamura, or as we know him, Munich. He teams up with Smiley Violence, Sayaka. They take on Tamara Jean and Miya Tsuba. Now, I want to confess something to everybody. I don't know what the hell was Tamara doing. Even Balinaka's like, "What the hell are you doing, man?" He was going a bit overboard in the chocolate square, and I don't know. He must have turned on the his inner Tetsuya Naito spirit, and just like that, he was trying to act like he even applied Destino, for Christ's sakes. And once he did that on Nakamura, 1, 2, 3, it was over. And then he tried to do the tranquilo while lying down, like he's acting like he's having a nice pina colada underneath a cabana. So yeah, so that's what happened. Even Bali was like, "What the hell were you doing? What was that? What was that?" I mean, yeah, he got too carried away. Now for our Jonkin tournament, well, this one ended very interesting. These guys actually teamed up already, and it just ended. Sayaka faced off against Tamura himself, and nobody wanted Tamura to win, so they were hoping that Sayaka did, and she did when she applied rock, and Tamura applied scissors, and just like that, it was over. So basically, Sayaka picked up the piece of chocolate. So that's pretty much what happened on this one with 523. Let's move on to our last of ChocoPro, 524. Okay, our last ChocoPro review, number 424. This happened, of course, again at Jagai Square on May 17th. Now, once again, Balinaki opened up the show with the greet and info of the entire event. Now, once again, we opened up with another exhibition match. We have Chiyu, this time facing Chi Koshikawa. Now, obviously, this match was going to end with Chi actually picking up the win, and that's exactly what happened. She won by pinfall when it was very standstill. 1, 2, 3, adios. Now, our next match, we have Monetatsu Nakamura teaming up with our Super Agent champion, Miyatsuba, taking on, of course, Minoru Fujita and Sayaka Obihiro. Now, once again, we did see the goddamn gong again in play, which is, of course, is designed to disorient your opponent. But however, Miya and Nakamura were trying to, of course, to dismantle it, like trying to break it in some ways, like trying to stomp on it, like, "You go to hell, you piece of garbage," that sort of thing. But it never worked. But in the end, of course, we did see a double pinfall by both Fujita and Obi onto Nakamura. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. Now, our next match, we have Tokiko Kirihara taking on Kaho Hiromi. Obviously, this match was going to go with Tokiko due to the fact that she's a fantastic striker, submission expert, not to mention she has more experience than Kaho herself, and that plays out pretty well. But of course, Kaho lost by pinfall with a somewhat modified either a crucifix or inside cradle. I don't know exactly what it is, but it was very helpful for her to pick up the win. 1, 2, 3, done. Next up, our main event, Shin Suzuki teaming up with Chiko Shikawa. This time they take on the Best Bros. Obviously, this was going to be a very interesting matchup. We know that Chi and Mei have the rivalries in the past, so that Shin Suzuki, that's always been the obvious case between them. But of course, we're going to see the shenanigans with Mei all the time and all this other stuff. But unfortunately, Suzuki ended up being the one losing to being double pinned by both Mei and Balinaki. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. And on for our Donkin tournament, to our finalists, we have, of course, Minoru Fujita and Banaki. I'm sure this was a bit of a payback for Minoru Fujita onto Banaki for winning the tournament that took place recently and earlier this month, and it must have been a bittersweet for him. So that's pretty much what happened on this particular day. So we'll see what happens if there's more. I'll let you guys know if there's more, and we'll go from there. But as of right now, let's move on to our last review, and that is, of course, NXT. Okay, NXT. As I mentioned, the chaos continues. With new faces, but things remain the same. However, our current champions, as you probably can guess, they got challengers coming left and right, up, down, side to side, whenever they come in. And that's exactly what's been happening. We opened up, of course, with Miles Bourne, our current NXT North American champion, teaming up with the current NXT champion, Tony D'Angelo, taking on Cam Hendricks and Mason Rourke. Now remember, Cam Hendricks is amongst the few that attacked Tony D'Angelo, and Mason Rourke was the guy who no one knew who he was, who took down Tony D'Angelo not once, but twice. And that was the whole point. However, we did see, of course, Tavian Heights, who was in the back watching this. Now, Cam Hendrick was about to do something, but Tavian Heights accidentally got involved and nearly, and also costing, of course, the match. I don't know what the heck he was thinking. But, however, Mason Rourke had this match won, dead to rights, until Cam Hendricks tagged in and took all the glory. He acts like he thinks that this makes him the guy who's going to be the next challenger for the NXT Championship, which is something, of course, it could happen. Now, Dark State, as you know, are well prepared for their upcoming tag team title match. As you know, there's been tensions between both Dion Lennox and Saquon Sugars, as you know, problems between them. So they put themselves in the match against, of course, Vanity Project, Ricky Smokes and Brad Baylor. Now, Kalani Jordan, of course, showed up, not happy because of the results, knowing too well that now she wants to aim for the NXT Women's title. Izzy Dame, as you know, currently is the one in line right now at the moment to challenge that title, and that's going to happen next week. However, Lola Vice had some things to say, and of course, Kendall Gray, who also aims for it, but however, Kalani Jordan, as you know, let's just say that she got taken out by, of course, Ren Sinclair with the clutches. That's something they did not anticipate, but it happened anyway. Now, we did see Sean Legacy and Dorian Van Dux, guys who knew each other. Well, it turned out that they are involved in the speed tournament, so they will be challenging, of course, who will be challenging Lexus King for the high speed for the speed title, and that's something we definitely going to see. And of course, they were surprised to see Noam Dar and of course Romero Moreno. Now Romeo, on the other hand, told Noam Dar that look, you had everything under your control last time with the Vanity Project, but what you didn't was, of course, Lockwood, who was there. And I think Noam Dar felt like, you're right, I should have seen that one coming, but it didn't. But right now, but Moreno asked Dar if he can be in his corner, because he wants him to be his mentor. So that's a pretty cool thing to hear. However, in the match, they're facing against Tristan Angels. Of course, Tristan Angels is trying to determine that guys like him are the ones who should be at the top of the food chain. And he faces, of course, that. However, of course, he was anointed by, of course, Shallow Hill, showing up campaigning to be Mr. NXT. And that was the whole thing that was really thrown off. And then, of course, Tristan applied that little, somewhat of a famouser type of maneuver onto Moreno, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. However, Tristan was not going to tolerate the Shallow Hill for what he was doing, and Shallow Hill is saying that he's campaigning to become Mr. NXT, but Tristan Angels was feeling like he didn't deserve it because guys like him are an embarrassment. But of course, we know Shallow Hill's twisted logic how he is, but Let's see what Angels is in for it because he has no idea what this guy's capable of. Now Lola Vice decided to stop by and say hi to Tatum Paxley, as you know. Lola Vice, as you know, admitted about her dealings with Izzy Dane, but she's perfectly well aware that Tatum Paxley had dealt with her in the past, and she said that she can't wait to deal with her next week. And Paxley said, "I can't wait to watch it." And of course, they mentioned like how there's challengers left and right. They can't just leave them alone. And of course, Tony D'Angelo along with Miles Bourne showed up, and D'Angelo told him to tell your boy Tavian Heights to stay away from me. And of course, Miles Bourne told him, "I'll take care of it." And then of course they looked at Tatum Paxley and Lola Vice like saying, "Challengers are getting bigger and bigger." Yep. And Lola says, "No one's taking this belt away from me," and everybody kind of like agreed. And then Tatum Paxley said, "Well, I'm out to defend my title, not my championship." So that's pretty much it. Everybody went their ways until, of course, Tony D'Angelo bumped into Naruko, another person who also aims for the NXT title. So we'll see where that goes. Now, Nico Vance and Sean Spears, as you know, they have new targets on that they've been aiming, and that is, of course, OTM. For obvious reasons, they are looking at if you saw the interview that was conducted last week, OTM kind of spilled out themselves about their themselves, and of course Sean Spears treats it like it's a vulnerability. Now it's time to take out the guys who claim they're going to become the NXT Tag Team Champions. But however, Sean Spears made the biggest mistake of his life. He booked this match for next week. Nico Vance tried to tell him, "Bro, it's Izzy Dame's night," because of course they want to be there to support her. And of course Izzy saw that and all that. I don't know how that's going to be, but it's going to be insane. But we'll see. Now, speaking of the NXT Women's North American title, I have to say it was a pretty fun match. I enjoyed it. Lizzie Rain really is fun. And I just learned a little fun fact about her that I did not know and I never mentioned. If you guys are big fans of Iron Maiden, you should know right about now Lizzie Rain is the niece of Iron Maiden drummer Clive Blur. Rest in peace, man. Yeah, the same guy who did the albums The Number of the Beast. Yes, that's the same guy. But I thought this match was really fun and very intensified. But of course, Tatum Paxley retained the belt when she applied the Cemetery Drive. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. And of course, Tatum Paxley wanted to show respect to Lizzie Rain. However, that was cut short thanks to the arrival of Zarya. Now, it doesn't take a genius about what this is about. It seems that she wants the NXT North American title. And that's something, of course, that she wants. Now, the real question is when and where. So, we'll see what happens until then. Now, of course, Ren Sinclair and Kendall Gray, as you know, they're happy for what they did, taking care of Kalani Jordan. Mr. Stone was not happy what they saw, but they felt that she had it coming. But of course, Mr. Stone said, "Look, I'll give you Kalani Jordan once you're medically cleared." And he was like, "Fair enough." Now, our next match, we have Keanu Carver taking on Tate Wild. Now, Tate Wild, as you know, has gone out of his freaking mind, acting like all over too confident of what he's going to do. But however, when it came to Keanu Carver, well, the guy was a beast out of the blue, and he made him bleed out until, just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. Now, of course, our current NXT Tag Team Champions, Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes, are a bit concerned over the fact of what Dark State is. They know that they are planning something, but however, Lockwood showed up, and she said she got both, of course, Cutler and Osiris. She says she has their backs, and of course that brought Baylor and Smokes at ease, knowing too well. Now, we did see, of course, Miss Shala Hill campaigning. However, he made a pit stop with OTM. It seems OTM, as you know, are fully aware that the Culling are now targeting them, so they're not going to let that happen. But of course, they asked him if they can help petition the campaign to become Mr. NXT. And OTM said, "Sure, look, I'm only doing this just to piss him off." And they just laugh about it because they know someone like Tristan Angel, who only cares about himself too much, deserves it. And then, of course, he looked to the Birthright for campaign. But they treat him like they think this is a joke, that guys like him are an embarrassment. But Of course, Charlie Dempsey put himself in a match against him for next week, and of course, you know his sadistic laugh. I would be surprised if he had something cooked up, and that's the last thing you don't want to be around. Now, our last interview of the night in the in-ring, we saw Sarah talk to Cam Hendricks. However, the real question, we saw that he pinned Miles Bourne. The real question is, will he aim for the NXT North American Championship? Now, of course, it's a good title, but it seems like for him, the only thing that mattered is getting the NXT title. However, someone else had something to say, and that is Mason Rook, you know. And of course, he had some few words about everything. But of course, Cam Hendricks, well, let's just say he did not anticipate, because Cam Hendricks, in my opinion, he acts like he thinks he's the much bigger star. But however, when I look at Mason Rourke, I look at him as a guy, I'm not here to play games. I'm not here to hog glory. I'm here to win and destroy and be the badass I am. And he did. He destroyed Cam Hendricks. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the few that can pull off in defeating Tony D'Angelo. That's something we will just have to wait and see. Now, our next match is the NXT Tag Team titles. Dark State, Dion Lennox, and Saquon are facing off Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes of the Vanity Project. Things were going well from the very beginning. Of course, Dark State are very good strategists. Brad Baylor and of course Vanity Project, they know how to find ways to sneak around. But however, there was a mistake coming from Dion Lennox and from Saquon, and just like that, costing the match. He got pinned by what's his name? By Smokes. 1, 2, 3. It was over. However, of course, things went out of control. We did not anticipate. Dion Lennox attacked, of course, Saquon, and then Cutler and Osiris helped out to take out, of course, Saquon. And this was a good question that Vic Joseph said to Booker T. Said, how long would this plan? I mean, were they planning to get rid of him? Who knows? But we'll see what happens as we go. So I can't wait to see what happens next week at NXT. But as of right now, we're done. Let's wrap up with some news updates. Okay, so we have some more news updates for all of you, so let's get started. Now let's begin with upcoming events. Now, as you know, we got GCW coming up as well. We have the 2-day event in Atlantic City. One of them is the Cage of Survival 5 that will happen on June 6th. They announced that the JCW title, which is the Jersey Championship Wrestling, the sister company of GCW, Charles Mason will defend it against Joey Janela. So that's going to be a brutal match, of course. And then later on, of course, in Indianapolis, for the last ones left, of course, that will happen on June 20th. They announced Band 48, consistent of the Koga brothers, Acticus and Otis. They'll take on Violence is Forever, Dominic Guarini and Kevin Kuhn. And then finally, of course, they did announce for the produced by Orange Crush Volume 2 Tiger Style that will happen on July 16th. They announced Marco Stunt will take on Beastman. So that's going to be a crazy match. Now, on to some developments here for everyone. Many of you may remember Sam Laterna. She was a ring announcer backstage interview in the Independence, and then you may have seen her did some work with TNA in the past. However, recently she has been involved in ROH taping in Jacksonville. I don't know if she's going to take a full-time position to be with Ring of Honor, but however, she did posted a photo of herself in front of the ring that has the Ring of Honor logo. Let me pull it up for you guys. Yeah, that's her right there. So yeah, and this is what she said. If there's one thing I've always bet on, it's myself. Huge thank you to Ring of Honor and Tony Khan for bringing me to do interviews at this round of ROH tapings. It was so wonderful seeing old friends, meeting new ones, and getting to work with such a fun environment. Now, it's still unclear whether she is part of the Ring of Honor, roster as their interviewer. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing her. I mean, I know Lexis Neer has been doing a double duty, both doing these and of course in Collision or sometimes Dynamite. And I wouldn't mind if Sam Laterna takes on the full time position as the Ring of Honor interviewer, backstage interviewer, so that sort of thing. So we'll see what happens. Now, many of you may remember this whole mess that was going on with TNA pulling out their talent during when matches were being booked where they faced against AW talent. Well, MJF had some things to say about Carlos Silva, calling him a piece of garbage for pulling these wrestlers out because that's people wanted to see these matches. But he kind of pulled back on aiming on TNA on Carlos Silva, the TNA president, and this is what he had to say. The truth is, he didn't want AW talent to go against TNA talent because he thought my boss intentionally could put Collision on the same night as TNA, even though it's every single year during specific season we have to push the Thursday, and he thought we were intentionally asked Warner Brothers, we were preempted. He didn't know that because he didn't want to know that. He got offended that we pulled a couple of matches off, and I was offended because you're taking a match away from me that I was looking forward to, and I was looking forward to beating the S out of Nick Bennett. B, you're talking about taking money out of people's pockets. I was a little upset, and I was been informed that this guy is getting smarter to the business, and he's fairly green and new. He is learning on the job. I have been told that he's a good guy, and I pumped the brakes a little bit on Carlos Silva. He's learning on the business. So yeah, I mean, look, let's talk about a little bit about this. Carlos Silva was upset that they think AW, when they did collisions on Thursday, they think that this was an aim at them. No, there's a specific reasons. For you guys know the collision happens on Saturdays. Now, most Saturdays we have seen WWE pull off some pay-per-views, and they don't want to compete against that because they know they have no chance, and that's why they put them on a Thursday. And of course, Carlos Silva took offense to that, and we can understand that maybe Carlos Silva is new. He was not being informed that this had nothing to do with TNA. This was about AW avoiding the fact that they don't want to compete against WWE when it comes to their big pay-per-views. And that's the thing. So he still is on the job learning. But I think MJF is saying that, look, I understand what you're trying to say, but you should know you took something that I wanted, was a match against MJF. I'm sure Nick Bennett wanted that too, and I get that. And I mean, Carlos Silva should just realize this has nothing to do with who's the better promotion. Give the fans what they want. They want to see a match they know they can't see either on TNA or on AEW. Why not in the independents? And that's the problem. And I'm sure the rest, they can figure that out as they go. So that's pretty much it what we have, okay? So I think that's about it. Let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we have AEW Dynamite. As you know, we're only a few days away from, of course, Double or Nothing, and I'm excited for that. I think we may do also WWE Evolve. We'll see how things will go there. Now, I'm a bit behind, of course, on New Japan. We're like in day 2, 3, and 4, I believe, in the Best of the Super Juniors, and I apologize for that to everyone. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, me reviewing, of course, the latest 3 shows from ChocoPro and, of course, NXT. So, until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.